And so, just like in Shadow Story, is that we're about to encounter the next boss fight.
Looks like we've arrived a little too late. What? Oh no!
Although, unlike in Shadow Story is that we somehow encountered the egg Cerberus, in Silver Story this time around is that we're about to encounter the Egg Genesis, because the last time we actually did encounter the Egg Genesis was back in Sonic Story while rescuing Princess Elise for, presumably speaking, for the third time, and on top of that, it did manage to able to take place in journey forms of a specifically a different location, likely also solely on the forest section, so that's besides the point. Hey, what's up ladies and gentlemen, it is I am the one and only Mexi here once again, and I am back for the likes of the Mexi Toys videos once again. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for some more of Let's Play of Sonic the Hedgehog, or most people call it Sonic the Hedgehog 2006, for the Xbox 360/PlayStation 3, while we're still playing through Silver Story. So, last time, we've essentially did manage to able to go in and explore through the worst stage in the entire game, not just the entire game, but with Silver Story as well. So as a result, yes, we did somehow manage to able to explore into Dusty Desert, and oh no, that was actually kind of a surprise performance, especially because you probably already know that I somehow managed able to pull off the stupid bull puzzle journey forms of at the end anyway, on my first attempt, which actually it's kind of lucky on my part, especially no matter what though, I definitely heard about the fact that a lot of players seems to get a lot of frustration with that particular last segment of that particular stage. So yeah, that's actually pretty swell. Although we did somehow manage to play as the final playable character in the entire game, which appears to be by the forms of none other than Amy Rose, which sadly to say, that Amy Rose is by far the worst playable character in the entire game just because of all that stiff momentum while performing double jumps, and of course a pretty delayed hammer swing, and the actual running speed is actually awful lot slower. So because of that though, yeah, I honestly do prefer the likes of her gameplay style, and not just by the forms of Sonic Adventure, but also with the forms of Sonic Heroes, potentially speaking, and even before Sonic Frontiers, for the sake of the forms of the Final Horizon DLC update. So, and in addition to that, we also beat the likes out of Sonic the Hedgehog as a boss fight, and also we did somehow explore into yet another stage, which appears to be White Acropolis. So, today for this video, as you can tell, we immediately somehow managed able to beat the likes out of the forms of the Egg Genesis, where the entire battle itself plays pretty similar to Sonic's counterparts, except the fact that the only way you can able to attack the Egg Genesis this time is that you have to use those specific psychokinesis, so that way you can able to obtain or grab those specific missiles, and you can able to actually toss it right at the forms of the weak spot at the bottom. Although keep this in mind though, is about the fact that if you're trying to go close to the weak spot, sometimes the camera will screw you up, especially because obviously the camera automatically focuses on the boss, which I appreciate, but it's just about the fact that you have to keep your way for your distance, so.
That's a Chaos Emerald. It said this gem can transform your thoughts into power. Collect 7, and a miracle's supposed to happen. Keep it as a lucky charm.
It transforms your thoughts into power.
And I believe, if I recall correctly, we're about to be switching over to a different character.
I've been trying to find Sonic, but now I think I'm in trouble. Maybe I should just walk away real quietly before they spot me.
Oh.
Prisoner has escaped from cell block C-17. All patrolling guards, begin searching immediately. I repeat,
way.
prisoner
Oh,
has
okay.
escaped from cell block C-17.
So Princess Elise walks out the door? No, really, she just leaves. No off position, nothing. Well, either way, I suppose Amy did somehow rescue Elise.
Thank you so much for rescuing me. I am so grateful.
I'm Amy. Amy Rose.
My name is Elise.
Elise? Wait, you're not Elise, the Princess of Soliana, are you? I'll bet someone's already on their way to rescue you.
Yes. But someone I know said to me, nothing starts until you take action. So I decided to heed his advice.
You wouldn't happen to have some feelings for this person, would you?
What? No, of course
It's
not.
okay. Love changes everything. It feels like every little moment in your life is huge, doesn't it? So, what does this guy look like? Have you already been on a date with him?
No, I really haven't.
A one-way love? That's so cute. Come on, there's no need to be shy. Look, you're a princess and you're super cute. That guy's the lucky one. I also have someone that I'm pursuing too. I wish us both luck.
And so, we somehow managed to able to go into the next town mission, because after all, we did somehow rescue Princess Elise, thanks to the forms of Amy, like I said before, although we do now need to escort Elise by simply defeating all these enemies as Amy Rose. So, anyways, a few things we want to explain for this point today is that, well, today's date of course is the 15th of March today, in some cases in 2024 today, and next week is about the fact that Princess Peach Showtime is going to be releasing in just about next week. Like I said this earlier, and I'm super excited for it, despite the fact that most people seem to find this to be, well, I don't know about you, because we haven't exactly thought about the forms of the review scores just yet though, but hopefully it will get revealed and during at some point during the forms of on Wednesday sometime. But as you can see on screen, despite the fact that we've somehow gone back to normal again, if you manage to hold down the square button or the X button, depending on the forms of what version of the game you're playing, basically Amy Rose did somehow perform an invincibility form, and as a result, it's pretty pointless, because otherwise, aside from the fact that you can able to actually not get detected by the forms of enemies, but it's also worth noting for is that the only thing you need to pay attention to is her shadow, because otherwise, if you become invincible, obviously no matter what though, it only lasted for about a few seconds, and I can totally see why about the fact that this particular ability for Amy is pretty useless, because no matter what though, you can obviously able to actually run into things by complete accident, although generally speaking I was about the fact that thankfully in this mission right here, that obviously there are fewer amount of enemies that we can able to deal with, so obviously no matter what though, this mission is a piece of cake, and right from the start though, as you can tell, Amy is gone! Although I'm sure enough though, she will appear again eventually, which, as it turns out, she appears right now. So either way though, yeah, nothing right to hum about for the sake of the forms of this mission. Although thankfully though, this will be the last time we're going to be playing as Amy Rose for the time being, until specifically towards the end game, because no matter what though, we're not going to spoil things just yet. So of course, we can now able to save, so I would have liked to be able to explain a lot of topics at this point today, but I suppose we should probably save that particular topic once we get to the next stage, and hopefully we should be able to actually take control of Silver the Hedgehog again.
Finally. I've been waiting so patiently for you to return, Princess.
Oh, for love of God. It looks like this is now the 5th time that Princess Elise has been captured by Dr. Eggman. Jeez, she's worse than Princess Peach.
Mephiles. Tell me, who is the Iblis Trigger? Why does he want to destroy the world?
Why does that matter to you? Unless you complete your task, your future will remain the same. Forever. He's currently at the terminal station. It's now or never if you want this.
Did he just perform a ballerina spin off screen? So it looks like our next objective we need to get into is that we must head for the station, because something tells me about the fact that Mephiles was trying to tell us about the fact that he's currently at the terminal station, meaning about the fact that we must make our way to the next stage, which something tells me we're going into Radical Train. Now here's the catch to this though, is that if you go near to this station, it will actually trigger the next town mission apparently. So because of that, how do you able to actually get to the station exactly? Well, we must find our way to the shops again, so just in case we can able to buy the final upgrade for Silver, and out of all the actual upgrades of what Silver's going to be able to have some bit of capabilities of, the final upgrade for Silver is by far the most useless one, mainly because it does have some bit of advantages, while at the same time though, it is pretty useless all things considered with all these things in mind. So because of that, let's talk about the forms of another topics at this point, and that's what appears to be about the fact that recently, Penny's Big Breakaway has recently received the actual update, specifically on the Switch version most notably, because as it turns out, it was now on version 1.2 patch, and as a result, what they did somehow address something is that, well, 60 frames per second for Penny's Big Breakaway has now officially been a thing for the Nintendo Switch version. So, yeah, that's actually pretty cool and everything, despite the fact I haven't exactly got the game just yet though, mainly because I'm still waiting for, trying to able to pre-order Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door on Switch, as well as the forms of Luigi's Mansion 2 HD, and afterwards though, I honestly have no idea what Nintendo is planning for next, before they moved on to the forms of the next system eventually. So, yeah, as you can see, we somehow ended up in the next town mission, and we have to go for a stealth segment, as you can tell, because if you dare get caught by any of those security guards, basically though, you get kicked out and you have to try again. So because of that though, thankfully, the amount of AI with the forms of those specific guards are pretty useless, all things considered, so you can obviously try to able to actually tackle for this mission no problem. So, and believe it or not though, whenever I first got to this point, I've honestly have no idea what the heck am I supposed to do. At least specifically whenever I first played this game on the Xbox 360 version, but every once in a while, in journey forms of the later years to come, I pretty much know exactly what to do. So yeah, basically as you can tell, that we somehow managed to get ourselves our final ability for Silver, which meaning about the fact that that particular ability, as you probably already saw familiar, basically this allows us to able to perform a quick hover dash, and that's basically all there is to it. However, here's the catch though, is that it only goes by 3 feet, so as a result, yeah, it's pretty useless. Especially because no matter what though, it tends to make a lot more, well, I don't know about you, because it has been about 2 days ago since I actually have last touched upon Silver's story in journey forms of Sonic 06 recently, just because no matter what though, still I'm very excited when it comes to able to experiencing Princess Peach Showtime, enjoying that at some point, as I said this before, until next week. So, anyway, so here we are in Radical Train, and thankfully, unlike the ones how it does in Sonic's story, alongside with Shadow's story, basically though, we always have to go after that specific train in order to able to actually progress for the actual level. In this particular version of this Radical Train stage as Silver this time around, is that in order to able to actually progress, we must able to try utilize with the forms of the balancing scale, by simply able to try utilize with the forms of the box crates. So, yeah, relatively a simple level as far as I'm aware. So generally speaking, I was about the fact that, well, at one form or another, journey forms within the story progression is that you notice about the fact that both Silver and Blaze are continue hunt for Sonic. Or to be more accurate though, Silver is the only one who continues to hunt for Sonic because Blaze really doesn't do anything in the story. Like, she just stands there, supposed to able to actually get some bit of informative characters and such, but she has no implemented role or anything. Like, she's probably the most worthless characters in this game story-wise, and it makes me even wonder why they bring in here was, despite the fact that she was from the future, not from the likes of the forms of another dimension. Like, the story sucks, you know? But anyway though, so, no matter what though, there's also another thing I want to point out as well, is that out of nowhere, we were gonna be receiving the next Sega game to be released on the Apple Arcade, except this time what appears to be by the forms of the next installment of Pyro Pyro, specifically Pyro Pyro Puzzle Pop, and it's gonna be on the Apple Arcades until the 4th of April, so that's gonna be on Thursday as a matter of fact. So, yeah, that's as far as I can usually say about it. And what features that game will contain? Obviously, it will contain the story mode, and there's also going to be 24 playable characters, and on top of that, multiple rule sets, including ones from different Pyro games, including Pyro Pyro 2 and Pyro Pyro Fever. And also there's a lesson mode for beginners, and also there's going to be an endless mode which will let players play for high scores on the leaderboard, as well as the 4-player multiplayer. And get this, it's about the fact that the game will also feature Sonic-themed Pyros. So, yeah, pretty standard stuff for the most part, just like the forms of how it does it for Pyro Pyro and DS. Too, for the likes of multiple platforms or somewhat. Mind you, I haven't exactly experienced too much of Pyro Pyro, besides the fact that I'm not very great at those kinds of games. Although, about the fact that the reason why I want to point things out, because obviously that game recently got announced. Especially noticeable they did somehow bring a new trailer to the mix, so... And I think something tells me with the forms of the starting location in Radical Train and Silver Story this time, it did somehow manage to able to take place in a halfway point of this entire length of the stage. And as a result, no matter what though, luckily though, just like the ones how it does it in Dusty Desert, as well as the forms of Tropical Jungle, there's only one loading screen, so because of that though, no frustrating moments for the sake of time. So generally speaking though, I fully appreciate able to actually get the time going. So... Anyway, there's also another thing I want to mention about this as well, is that, do you guys even remember about the fact that Coco Bandicoot has already mentioned about the fact that recently Monster Hunter Stories 1 for the Nintendo Switch has recently revealed the actual release date? That's going to be coming in June at some point on the 14th of June, around the same day as what Inside Out 2 is going to be releasing on the cinemas. Well, as it turns out of nowhere as well, we're about to be getting a double pack, where it comes to the forms of Monster Hunter Stories 1 as well as Monster Hunter Stories 2 combined into one package. However, here's the catch to this though, is that similar to the forms of how it does it on the Mega Man Legacy Collections, specifically Mega Man Legacy Collection 1 and 2, as well as Mega Man X Legacy Collections for the Nintendo Switch version, is that, unfortunately though, is that you only gonna get the thing physically. Well, to be more accurate though, you're only able to actually get the physical game card version of the first one, and as far as the second game is concerned, it's gonna be a download code. So because of that though, a little bit disappointed though, but regardless of anything else though, the combo pack was there, and I'm pretty sure enough though, it's gonna be releasing around the same time as well, I guess. Well, mind you, I haven't exactly utilized the forms of the actual release dates for it just yet though, and once again, I was literally so close to get myself my glorious S rank. Well, nothing matters anyway though, because just like in Shadow Story, is that by experiencing the town missions is completely pointless for Silver. Not only that though, for what I've heard anyway, is that some town missions for Silver is actually way more lamer than the forms of how it does it during the forms of in Sonic Story, because no matter what though, there are some tedium involved, which involves around psychokinesis, but either way. Now I get the strong feeling this cutscene will play the third time.
I knew it! I knew you'd return. You had to.
You again. This time, there will be no more interruptions. The Iblis Trigger must die.
Sonic.
Ha!
So how was your little walk?
this. Ah! It's time to end this. Who? Mephiles! Why are you getting in my way?
I'm Shadow. Shadow the Hedgehog.
And now it's time for the next boss fight, which appears to be Shadow the Hedgehog.
I won't hold back. Here I come!
So exponentially though is about the fact that we still need to able to pick up objects by simply using his psychokinesis, so that way we can able to defeat Shadow the Hedgehog. Now, out of all the actual character battles in Sonic the Hedgehog 2006, is that I feel like in Shadow the Hedgehog, character battle in this game is by far the hardest character battle in the entire game. Not just because of how the fact that, as you can tell, Shadow can able to use his Chaos Spear, because otherwise, if you get hit by his Chaos Spear, basically you get stunned, and as a result, about the fact that Shadow will instantly homing attack into you, and on top of that, when he lands into a ground, he does this little kick sweep. So generally speaking though, we must keep our way from a distance from now on. So, yeah, definitely a little bit of a tricky boss fight compared to the forms of how it does it for Sonic the Hedgehog, including Silver the Hedgehog twice, enjoying the forms of it not only in Sonic's story, but also on Shadow's story respectively. And I think, as a matter of fact, this will be the final character battle in this entire playthrough of Sonic the Hedgehog 2006, despite the fact that, relatively speaking now, every time whenever we do manage to complete Radical Train, we see that identical cutscene for about 3 times, which I'm just assuming about the fact that they're trying to do something similar to Sonic Adventure 2, when it comes to able to interact with the forms of the exact same set pieces, but with a different perspectives. But nope. Instead, the actual cutscene itself plays very identical to the forms of how it does it, depending on which specific storyline you go into. So, anywho though, so as you can see, despite the fact that we've already defeated Shadow right here, because we did somehow pick up the last few barrels and toss it right back into him, because what happens was though is that once his health is actually on the halfway point, basically Shadow can able to perform a Kaioken mode, which means about the fact that he's going to get a lot more aggressive. So because of that though, still we need to be very cautious with Shadow, and as a result, that pretty much takes care of the forms of Shadow the Hedgehog, and I think that pretty much takes care of every single character battles. So, now I'm pretty sure no matter what though, is that we've almost got every single S ranks for the character battles, with only one exception, which appears to be Sonic the Hedgehog, but I'm guessing it's probably because I didn't pick up as many of those rings. So, oh well, no big deal. At least I can do that off screen. So, oh, this cutscene again. Let's watch this amazing scene again.
Chaos Control!
Yeah, that scene right there never gets old. Gee, no wonder why 2024 is gonna be the year of Shadow after all.
You! Don't bother. With the Chaos Emerald's power, I control time and space. You can't break free.
I won't give up. It all depends on me. Can't lose. Not when I'm so close.
Chaos
Control! Huh?
You induced Chaos Control.
I won't let anyone get in my way. I'll change the past and save the world.
Mephiles isn't trying to help you create a better future. He's trying to eliminate the past.
What? What are you talking about?
To discover what happened, it seems we must see what took place 10 years ago. Follow me if you want the truth.
An electromagnetic pulse has just been generated, injecting a decompression agent. No, the level's not dropping. A spatial meltdown is inevitable. My lord, it's too late. We've got to take shelter.
Why so loud? Why do you refuse to listen to my voice? Father! Elise!
Is that? Flame. It's Iblis!
And the Black Shadow is the original Mephiles.
That's Mephiles? They're escaping!
We'll have to split up. I'll pursue Mephiles.
Okay, then leave Iblis to me.
Wait. Seal it with this.
Hurry!
So yeah, just like in Shadow Story, is that we somehow travel back in time in 10 years ago, and except the fact that this time around though, we must follow Iblis as opposed to Mephiles, because obviously Shadow's aiming for Mephiles. So, and also something tells me about this is that I have no idea what is up with the forms of Shadow's walking animation once he obtains the Scepter of Darkness, thanks to the forms of the King of Soliana, aka the Duke of Soliana, or potentially speaking of Elise's father, which as a result, I have no idea what is up with that walkie animation for Shadow. But either way, so the entire structure of this stage in Aquatic Base plays pretty similar to the forms of how it does it in Shadow's Aquatic Base, except now, I don't think it's possible we can able to ride on with the forms of specific vehicles or anything else like that, so I don't think there's going to be any motorcycles to be found, so I'm guessing no matter what though, it's about the fact that it will be Sulfur's main focus of this entire stage this time, because no matter what though, I'm pursuing to you is about the fact that I'm pretty sure they won't be going to be bringing ourselves a whole bunch of those specific enemies that we can able to take care of. So, anyway though, so there's also another thing I want to address something about this as well, is that out of nowhere, well, presumably speaking though, mind you, it's going to be a rumor at the moment, but something tells me is about the fact that it looks like we're about to be getting a brand new Sega All-Stars game, specifically Sega All-Stars Tennis game, and it's going to be coming on the Apple Arcade, which I was a little bit excited for it, and disappointing at the same time, because on the other hand, despite the fact there was a rumor after all, so relatively speaking though, it's about the fact that on the other hand, it's pretty cool about the fact that something tells me is that the Sega All-Stars brand is going to make its return after the events of 2012, since Enduring forms have been Sonic and All-Stars Racing transformed. So, generally speaking though, it's about the fact that it's going to be pretty cool to see that particular brand returns, but this time I believe they're going back into tennis game ever since in 2008 for Sega Superstars Tennis. Although, the only thing is kind of disappointing to me though, is that what I've heard, as I said this before, that it's going to be exclusive to the Apple Arcade, which I was not expecting, because I was assuming about the fact they'll give us a bit of an opportunity to able to releasing on multiple platforms, ranging from Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X/S, and even PC owners as well. But, much like the forms of how it does it for Sonic Dream Team, it's going to be only exclusive to Apple Arcade. So, as a result, meaning about the fact that the subscription is required. So, yeah, I was a little bit disappointed by it. Well, assuming if it became true or not, well, we'll have to wait and see what happens during the forms of later days to come, because, like I said this before, it was just a rumor at the moment. So, generally speaking, though, it's about the fact that we shall wait and see what happens. So, but anyways, though, let's go ahead and try to able to go for a large bottomless pit that we have to go through, and on top of that, thankfully there are quite a few platforms here and there, so just to ensure for the fact that we can able to exponentially try to make the actual process a lot more easy to manage, Well, I wouldn't say that for sure, because there is that one section coming up in Journey Forms of Aquatic Base, relatively speaking, that it will attempt to throw me off a bit, which then again we'll explain more about it if we get to that specific section. So even then though, let's just go and deal with some even more enemies, and what is up with the forms of my button inputs, because again the frame rate is not even helping, so generally speaking, I get the strong sense of feeling we might able to get hit a lot during the forms of that specific period. So anyways, there's also another thing I want to mention about this as well, is that there is this new film called Vermin 3, which, as it turns out, it did officially reveals the actual name for it, and it's gonna called Vermin The Last Dance, and that's gonna be releasing at some point in Journey Forms of this year, presumably speaking, in 2024, if I'm assuming so anyway. So, even then though, on October 25th, which I'm presuming so anyway. So, and also something tells me is that we're going into a reverse version of this specific ball thing right here, or the silver metallic ball thing right here, so we can able to just try to once again be very careful with those lasers, although there's actually a safety catch that you can able to actually make this entire section a bit easier, while at the same time though it does manage to require us to able to actually, there's no point getting that 1-up right there, because that might actually give us a bit of a risk assessment. So, as a result, we'll just go ahead and, like, continue progression for the sake of time. So, but anywho, though, so, yeah, at the end of the day, though, is about the fact that it feels like that, oh yeah, there's technically another thing I want to mention about, is that, after all, I have seen some new screenshots recently for the likes of this brand new Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door Switch remake. And as it turns out, from what I've seen, the actual new images has been shown up, thanks to the forms of the Japanese website, including with the forms of the European, UK websites as well. And I'm gonna say, the images on Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door on Switch looks absolutely gorgeous this time around. Ranging from its lighting, likely for example, there's an image where it shows us the forms of Rogueport sewers, and my goodness, the graphics look amazing. And heck, even especially noticeable with the forms of Riverside Station, and my goodness, the actual lighting is so gorgeous. Now, I'm pretty sure that'll be the greatest way to able to end things off with the Nintendo Switch. Well, despite the fact that Luigi's Mansion 2 HD is now basically taking over for presumably the final Mario game to be released on Switch, if possible. Well, it all really depends really, just because no matter what though, we're still in March after all. So relatively speaking, I was about the fact that it already depending on the forms of how the fact that we might possibly get the final General Nintendo Direct for Nintendo Switch or something like that before they moved on to the next system. Again, we shall see what happens. So either way though, yeah, I'm still very excited for it, you know. And in addition to that though, is about the fact that just like the ones that how it does it in the European version on the GameCube version of Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door, well, specifically in multiple regions of Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door, the Switch version will still able to retain some multitude of European languages, which actually translates to forms of, well, any other languages. Like, for instance, there's one in Nintendo of Europe in France, which actually translates to Paper Mario The Millennium Door, which actually signifies as Paper Mario Lamporti Millennium. And when it comes to German, it actually translates to Paper Mario The Legend of the Eon Gate. And for Italian, it's going to call it for translation, which appears to be Paper Mario The Millennium Portal. And that's about it, basically, as far as I can definitely recognize that specific translations when it comes to multiple languages. For Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door, aside from the Japanese version, it's still going to call it Paper Mario RPG, which is pretty standard stuff for the most part. So, and yes, we were definitely right all this time, especially noticeable that the box art is going to be based off from the Japanese version of Paper Mario RPG, which, again, I don't mind about it too much, because I love seeing the actual cover art. So, anywho though, yeah, this section right here, whenever I first got to there on the Xbox 360 version, when I was trying to aim myself the actual S-rank runs, likely also just trying to able to get that achievement. This section right here always ticked the heck out of me, mainly because of the forms of that particular silver metallic thing that we have to, or silver metallic ball thing that we have to able to try and navigate through. But again, if you dare touch the lasers at one point, the actual silver metallic ball will disintegrate it and you fall into the water, and that counts as a death. So, and exponentially, I always attempt able to do this trick right here, just to make things a little bit more manageable when it comes to able to actually passing for this point. And I'm pretty sure I fully appreciate with this lag right there, because it actually saves me a lot. So, anyway, so I'm guessing, no matter what though, we've nearly at the end of this level basically, because after dealing with some even more enemies right here, at least thankfully we can able to kill them instantly, thanks to the forms of this weird little device thing we can able to utilize with, and it looks like we're about to try to able to make our way to this section right here. So I'm pretty sure the entire structure plays pretty similar to Shadow's Aquatic base, except now it does manage to take place in a different route. So, and thus there's no vehicles to be found. So, yeah, it's quite lengthy still, especially because no matter what though, we still need able to defeat all kinds of enemies around here, including with those methless monsters and stuff like that, on rare occasions, as a matter of fact. And also I keep on just ramming into those enemies like an idiot. So, but exponentially speaking, this is going to be the last section of this level, so now I'm pretty sure we've almost nearly at the end of Silver Story, basically, because afterwards, though, similar to the forms of how it does it not only in Sonic Adventure, as well as Sonic Adventure 2, even with the forms of Sonic Heroes, assuming if you do need to collect all 7 Chaos Emeralds as an addition, is that we will able to unlock the final story segment, so that might be something worth a while. And either way though, let's just go ahead and defeat the last enemy and grab this gold ring, and that pretty much takes care of Aquatic Base. So, yeah, not too shabby for the most part, despite the fact that this entire stage is filled to the brim with like 2 loading screens, and that's all there is to really say about it. So, even then, yeah, not much else I can talk about. So with that being said, folks, it's now bringing out the endings of this point right here. So join me next time for more of Let's Play of Sonic the Hedgehog 2006 in Silver Story. Is that, presumably speaking though, is that I believe we're about to be hit on to, let's just say, the 3 Trials of Soliana, and also the next stage. So I'll see you guys next time. Later, fellas.